And we are live. So, welcome to episode 120 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. In the house tonight, we've got the Ryan Daly. And that's all that needs to be said.
That's it.
We've got Eric from Hey Internet Eric here.
That's me. I'm here.
And not to get too modern, but flossing here with his collection in the background, we've got the return of the Gorephobe. And it's always a treat to have him on the show. Thank you for stopping by one more time and hanging out with us.
Cool. My pleasure, man.
Yeah, man. It's always good to have you guys on. Ryan hasn't been, well, you were here for the Guilty Pleasures flick.
Yeah.
But before that, you had a hiatus, for your own shit going on. But it was good to have you back. And now it's good to have you back covering a film.
Yeah, man.
So, yeah.
One of my favorites.
And if there ever was a film to cover, this would be it.
Oh, hell yeah.
We're talking about Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, and we're talking about it under the thread heading of the Summer of Crime. And so starting today and every week henceforth until the end of August, once or possibly even twice a week, we're going to be covering crime thrillers because this show covers horror, it covers science fiction, fantasy, and it also covers action thrillers. So we've spent a lot of time working on horror, and I know that I think someone was saying, well, you're going to run out of movies, especially with the types of movies that we talk about here. And I'm just like, fuck that. That's never going to happen. I could operate out of my own collection until the end of fucking time.
Just look at Gore shake his head.
Yeah,
We're not going to live that long. Our kids will be able to run shows,
Yeah. So I'm never but I mean, someone would say I'm going to run out of horror movies. Mm-hmm. Like I'm going to run out of horror movies, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I could go for at least another 24 months just off my collection alone with the quality and type of movies that I want to talk about.
Yeah,
easily. I mean, that's not even with adding things in. Like I could just do that. And then, just add, and imagine, because like I'm like Amazon's #1 fucking customer, especially since they started selling used movies. But we also cover sci-fi fantasy, and we haven't touched on that too much. And we certainly haven't gotten too much into the crime thrillers. So now every week until the end of August, the last week of August, we're going to be talking about crime thrillers. And we're starting this week with Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight. So if you guys are ready, I think we should just get right into it.
Yeah, buddy.
Let's do it.
Boogie woogie. So The Dark Knight happened in 2008, and it is the follow-up movie to Nolan's smash hit that he didn't think was going to be successful, Batman Begins, which is just, it turned the entire Batman franchise on its head. We had come from 2 Burton films, and today is the 30th anniversary of Batman Returns today. I'm seeing people posting all over the place. And I keep saying it's a terrible movie, but Michelle Pfeiffer was fucking fantastic in it. I love it. She led that movie. And I could watch it just for her over and over again, but I don't. But it's still a great fucking movie because of, well, it's not a great movie, but she's great in it. Let's put it to you that way. So 30 years of that. However, when Nolan, and then we had 2 Schumacher films that, yeah, exactly. That's the appropriate response to that. But then Nolan came in with this ultra realistic take. I hadn't had an enormous amount of experience with Nolan but it was just phenomenal. And it started right off the bat. When you start watching the interactions between Liam Neeson and Christian Bale, I was a huge Christian Bale fan from American Psycho. So when I heard that he was going to be Bruce Wayne, I was very amped about that. Who would have thought that he could have topped that? Because usually, and I talk about this a lot when we talked about Star Wars and Sturgeon's Law, 9 out of 10 things kind of suck. So 9 out of 10 sequels, are probably, according to that premise, going to suck. We talked about The Empire Strikes Back, though. We've talked about, we haven't talked about the movie, but we mentioned Terminator 2. You get Aliens, but you've also got fucking Dark Knight. And I just watched this yesterday. It is a perfect fucking movie.
It is. It is.
Go ahead, Ryan.
No, I think it's Nolan. See, I didn't know much about Nolan going into these movies. And I think it's my favorite Batman movie ever. It's perfect. And we'll get into more of it as we go along. But it also works as a standalone movie. Like you don't have to watch Batman Begins to know what's going on, to appreciate what's going on.
Right.
And it's just we'll probably get into this in a while, but it's certain directors have a movie that's perfect. They blow their wad on it, and then the subsequent movies aren't as good. Like Tarantino is always associated with Pulp Fiction. That's like his perfect movie. I mean, not saying his other ones were bad, but that's his crowning achievement. For Nolan, this one is it. I mean, he set the expectations for this movie so high that I think Dark Knight Rises suffered for it. I didn't really care for Dark Knight Rises as much. I think it kind of was like, I think for me, the main thing was, let's address the elephant in the room, the absence of the Joker.
Right.
That was a big reason for me, I think, why The Dark Knight Rises wasn't as good as it could have been. And let's get it out on the table now. The Dark Knight, I mean, Heath Ledger's Joker is it for me.
It's the quintessential Joker.
I hadn't had much experience with Heath Ledger before. When they announced that he was playing the Joker, I'm like, the guy from Knight's Tale and 10 Things I Hate About You.
Right. I was the same way.
And then everybody went crazy over Brokeback Mountain, which I will never see and don't care to see. And then I watched this movie and I was like, holy shit, this guy is perfect. And if you look, even to this day, he is the gold standard of Jokers. Every list, every ranking of the Joker, he's always at the top. I mean, it's, everybody brings their own interpretation to the role. But I think everybody going into playing the Joker, it must be in the back of their mind like, man, I wonder if they're going to compare me to Heath Ledger's performance or not. It must be maybe it's a subconscious thing or an unconscious. How can you not? I mean, if I was playing a Joker, I'd be like, shoot, how are they going to? I'm not trying to beat Heath Ledger. I'm trying to do my own spin on it. But, I'm going to get judged. I'm going to get,
here's the thing. There's a lot that, Ledger's performance is, it's 1,000%. But you've also got a fantastic script.
Oh yeah. That script.
You've got a fantastic script. You've got fantastic directors. You've got an ensemble cast where everybody is just firing at 110%.
Yeah.
This movie was made with by today's standards, a shoestring budget, $185 million.
Wow.
That's it?
That's it, $185 million. And to show you the comparison between that and today, where things are, let's say, for example, that new HBO series coming up, House of the Dragon, where they're doing the prequel series to Game of Thrones. They're going to be going up against Lord of the Rings on Amazon. So it's going to be HBO this fall against Amazon with their two big fantasy guns. The House of the Dragon is $30 million per episode.
Jesus Christ.
$30 million per episode. So, I mean, you can imagine that probably a lot of that is going to go towards CGI, whatever. But it just goes to show how huge these things have become in the 15 years since movies like The Dark Knight have come along. Nolan used very little CGI. Almost none.
Yeah, I don't think he's
with
any
the Harvey Dent thing, these sorts of things, but a large amount, almost exclusively used practical effects. Flipping the 18-wheeler.
Yeah, that was real.
That
was awesome.
Demolishing the hospital.
Yeah.
That was a real explosion. I remember before, I remember CNN saying, we were in Chicago or wherever it was that they were filming, and Christopher Nolan is filming the Dark Knight, and they showed that huge explosion on CNN, and we had no idea what the Dark Knight was supposed to be. Only that they kept showing this huge explosion. Those were all real things that Nolan did, and from talking about we've talked a million times about the benefits of practical effects. The story itself, it starts at the end of Batman Begins, where Gordon has now been promoted to lieutenant, and he starts talking about escalation. This idea of escalation. Now we're outside of the law with things. You've got a man who is just, dressed up like, death, going out at night and beating criminals, half to death for the police. So, does that also mean that, the type of criminality that's going to respond to that, is that also going to elevate?
Right.
Which is what we end up getting in The Dark Knight. And so you end up the arrival of this character, because we've already had people like Scarecrow and Cillian Murphy, and he's fantastic in it. And you had Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul.
Kenny Watanabe was in it for a little bit in the beginning too.
Watanabe, so there's a bit of subterfuge there. But then this guy just arrives on the scene, and what's so perfect about it is that Nolan didn't make the mistake of giving him a backstory.
No.
You have no idea who, throughout the entirety of this film, you have no idea who this person is.
Yeah.
And that's how he is in the comic. There's because if you've read The Killing Joke, we get a backstory in that. But there's also many, many times when the Joker himself changes it. You know what I think? I think he's like attributed to like a choose your own adventure novel or something like that. He's always switching it around, so no one really knows where this man came from and why he is the way he is. You know what I mean?
And that's why in the movie, he even lies about, you want to know how I got these scars?
Yeah,
and he tells two different stories, and that's what I like about this Joker, is that he's just this thing that's there to cause chaos and anarchy.
Well, Nolan said he wanted to model him after sort of Jaws.
Okay.
Like the shark just arrives. You have no idea why the shark is. All right. Hopefully Gore will be back. Maybe his internet froze up. You have no idea why he's there. You have no idea who he is. The shark just sort of rolls into town and starts eating people. You have no idea why this shark, they're not saying, climate change or, blah, 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 like they did later with that cheesy movie Orca. You have no idea why this person shows up. And he said he took examples from people he saw in cinematic history where he felt that adding a backstory detracted from the overall character. And two people he used were Darth Vader. Okay. He felt that the backstory with Vader eventually led to more problems than it was worth. Vader is the fist of the Emperor. He's a terrifying thug and a killer. But once you start to get into these other things outside, and maybe, he's talking about what led to the other trilogies, you start to get to see him as a kid, or whatever. And then you start to see his grandchildren later on in the next trilogy. And he felt that took away from who this person was supposed to be. Another person that he wanted to avoid, and he used as an example, was Hannibal Lecter.
Okay, I could see that.
Thomas Harris was forced to write that fourth Lecter novel and make that fourth movie. And it just, people were not a fan. But the studios said, look, we have the rights to this. Either you're going to write it since you wrote the other three, or we're just going to find somebody else who did. So the idea that he could just create this unknowable monster, who just rolls into town and just turns everything on his head, has led to us now almost 15 years later still saying how perfect it is.
And the beginning of the movie is brilliant. It opens with that bank robbery that was, you could tell, was heavily influenced by another one of my favorite crime films, Heat. And we see the Joker immediately how he is, where he's turning the bank robbers against each other. They kill each other to get the money, and then ultimately he's the one that ends up with the money at the end. Just the way, and he robs from the mob. He took the mob money. And what did it for me with his character was for the end of the movie when he's got that mountain of money and he's got the Mr. Lau sitting on top, the accountant, the mob accountant, and he just lights it all on fire. He doesn't care about money. He just
wanted to make a point.
He lights it all on fire. And a bonus on that, when you're like, oh crap, Lau's at the top of that pile and he's burned to death. And Joker doesn't care. Doesn't give two shits about him.
The entire point of what Joker does is he tries to bring you to, he tries to convince you that everybody can be dragged down to that base level. What's up, man? So you want to get in here because you haven't said anything yet. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just getting ready to jump in, and I had a point to make, but I'm not sure if you guys just lost me or if everybody got lost or what happened.
Yeah, you just dropped out. It's okay, you're back. No big deal.
I restarted my phone, so I think I'm good. No, what I was gonna say was who could have really guessed? You know what I mean? Except for, I think, Christopher Nolan. He's the only one that really thought about Heath Ledger. I'm not even sure Heath Ledger thought that he could pull this off.
And
no one else thought that he could, for sure. But I think
it was out of left field. Totally. Yeah.
I mean, just like you were saying, not one person thought that he was going to make a good Joker, except for possibly the unknown genius of Christopher Nolan. My
history of Nolan was, to my knowledge, was like zero when Batman Begins came out. I think I could be wrong. I think he directed Memento.
Yeah, he did.
And I really like that. But other than that, I didn't know anything about him. And there's not a Batman movie I don't enjoy. I really enjoy the first Burton Batman. I like Returns. Returns is fun. If I want some camp and goofy shit, I'll watch Schumacher or even 66 with Adam West.
That's it. That's mine. Yeah, man.
But
I wonder,
go ahead.
Is how he ever even came up for the role, because I mean, he was the cutie guy in there with the romance movies, and I think he had done Monsters Ball maybe, and a couple of things like that, but nothing really that would make you think that he would make a good follow up to a Jack Nicholson joke.
He was Nolan's pick, and Nolan ate a lot of shit, and he just said, "Fuck you, this is my guy." He said that Nolan and he were on the same page, I believe, with a lot of their ideas of how they could portray it. Eric, you look like you want to.
Well, that I was going to say, that's kind of like, when Batman Begins came out, like you guys said, like, I didn't think it could be topped, because nostalgia-wise, growing up, my favorite Batman was the 89 version, but Batman Begins was just fucking great from beginning to end.
Yeah.
And then what I was going to say is, we're asking about Heath Ledger. It's like every Batman minus 66 always had like a casting question, like lots of people were like, with Michael Keaton, you mean fucking Mr. Mom's going to be Batman? No one
Right.
believed in him.
People were like, Beetlejuice is Batman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Here with Heath Ledger, people didn't think Affleck was going to be a good Batman. You know, he made them eat crow too. So it's kind of nice how it's all Batman kind of telling these people just let them do the work first, and then you can either shit talk them or not. Because I'm not going to lie, Heath Ledger is the reason why I gave Ben Affleck a chance. Because, like I said, this is Brokeback Mountain. This is 10 Things I Hate About You. You know,
I don't know
you know,
about
the
you,
brothers.
but-
You know, the brothers Grimm. He was always doing these like easy roles. You know, kind of like how Matthew McConaughey. He always had the serious roles, but then he did the rom-coms. This was like Mr. Rom-com, and when you saw pictures of him, you realized this wasn't going to be Cesar Romero. This sure as hell wasn't going to be Jack Nicholson. This is going to be something totally different.
Well, I don't know if you guys remember, or if you guys were the same as what I was in about 2007 or so. But about halfway through the shooting of this movie, there beginning to be grumbles about how great Heath Ledger was doing on this. You know what I mean? I don't know if you guys heard the same thing, but right before the movie,
I hadn't heard.
I begin to hear a lot of different things, you know, because I always read magazines, I always watch Entertainment News, and people begin to talk about how great he was going to be at this role and how well and how satisfied Christopher Nolan and the whole cast was. Long before the movie was even finished.
The thing that I had heard, and I think it was during the release of Avengers, there was a movie, I think it was Avengers, where they released the entire robbery scene as the trailer. Because Nolan they had kept an amazing amount of secrecy about, you know, what the movie was going to be about. And then when people went to go see Avengers, I think it was Avengers, or it was one of the Marvel movies or something, it was a big blockbuster. They just released that entire 7 or 8 minute robbery scene as the trailer. And it starts off, of course, with, you know, no wonder they call him the Joker, and because nobody knew what they were seeing at first. And I heard that when people heard, because I was overseas when this happened, I think, or I was somewhere, I can't remember. But when people heard that guy say, "No wonder they call him the Joker," like the audiences were fucking erupting because they all understood at the same time what it was that they were seeing. And that scene just lets you know right away that we're getting right back into that gritty, realistic, you know, sort of Batman that, you know. And they're like, holy shit, you know, he might actually do it again. I don't think anybody dared to dream that it would actually be superior.
And I also like that Nolan made the wise choice not to have the Joker in Batman Begins. And he teased him at the end. That's what I thought was cool. When Gordon gives him this guy again, you know, he's killed some people. He leaves his card, and you just see the calling card, and it's the Joker card, and you're like, oh shit, Joker's coming. You know,
he caught some shit over that too, I think, didn't he? For not having the Joker in the first one.
Yeah.
I mean,
because a lot of people. Scarecrow doesn't have a big core following unless you are a fan of him in the comics. And no offense, and you know, unless you guys are one of like the 2 people that even knew who Ra's al Ghul was.
I know who, because I watched the fabulous Batman the Animated Series from the 90s. That was an amazing cartoon, and that's where I found out that Mark Hamill voiced the Joker. But that I knew about Ra's al Ghul from that. And
but
you know,
they were less known characters. They weren't even on the Adam West show. You know what I mean? And that show had everybody from like King Tut and Egghead and all those random people.
Taylor Croc, all the it was a wise choice starting with Scarecrow, I thought, you know, and what I like about Dark Knight 2 is it didn't fall into the too many villains curse. You know, some of those movies get like, we all remember Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3 when there's like too many villains jammed in there. And in Dark Knight, Scarecrow was used just enough, you know, right in the beginning. And then we have Joker, and we have the mob guys, a brilliant Eric Roberts as Sal Maroni.
That's what I was going to say.
It's not even a hero movie. Really?
I mean, Batman Begins is largely about organized crime.
Exactly.
You know, and so they established like this enormously wide and thick antagonist base. Because the whole fucking city is corrupt.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The whole city is corrupt. They killed that prosecutor and the Katie Holmes' boss.
Oh,
But
yeah.
people are just getting wiped out. Cops are corrupt. They really do. Nolan did a really good job of establishing that the whole city is just fucked.
Yep.
You know, and that's kind of a year one story. And so by the time we get to this, we're in year 2, and we're moving, you know, with this story, this repetitive sort of thing where it literally says, because he based a lot of this on The Godfather. And like Ryan said with Heat, which are characters that if you go long enough, you see them become the villain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Michael Corleone, by the end of that first movie, has become the villain.
Yeah.
You know, and then through the second and third movie, forget it. De Niro, you know, by the time they commit that bank robbery, characters that you sort of liked have just killed people in the streets. Tom Sizemore is grabbing a child and using her as a human shield.
Yeah.
You know, all of those characters become the villain. And so what ends up happening is that every one of the characters, Gordon,
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at John's handle.
He's the late John K. Alvarez. Welcome aboard. But you've got Gordon, you've got Batman, and of course the real protagonist of the movie, which is Harvey Dent.
Yep.
Yeah. They all live long enough to see themselves in one form or another become the villain.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how they used Two-Face in this, where he's a tragic character, you know, and I'm glad we finally got a cool looking Two-Face, because the Tommy Lee Jones Two-Face, you know, we won't go there. But it was, what a performance from Aaron Eckhart. And it was just like, you're so, and you feel like you can't help but like feel bad for this guy when he's turned into Two-Face, and it's just,
and you understand why he wants to do what he wants to do.
Because he's right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He's tired of everybody's fucking compromises.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I like about him is he's Harvey Dent. You know, his role in the movie, he's Harvey Dent for probably 80% of his screen time.
Oh,
and I think that's great that we only get maybe Two-Face for 20 minutes, if that.
Yeah, he's not Two-Face for very long. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's great because you get to love and associate with Harvey. Yeah. And you can feel that sympathy and
it's really
agree
Harvey's
with him.
movie.
He's the protagonist.
I disagree with that, though. I do on occasion. I think you see Two-Face without him turning into Two-Face when he's Harvey Dent.
Yeah, so where he's
there is when he takes the one guy, and
starts the crazy guy, and he's going to pop him.
Seeing him change into Two-Face without the actual physical transformation.
Yeah, and that's a line that they use. God, I'm sorry.
That's why I think, you know, this is why I think for people, I don't know if you covered this, Mike, when I, you know, was late. The reason why some people are sympathetic with the Joker especially in this movie, because there's a lot of time Joker, as wrong as he was right in what he was saying, and almost everything that he was saying being as accurate as he was.
The Joker had logical arguments, but I mean, he's introduced as he's a terrorist.
Yeah,
right. You know, in that he's not necessarily. I don't have any sympathy. I love his character. I love his character. We've been talking about that for 20 minutes, but I don't have any sympathy for it because he targets civilians.
Right.
He has a point. He has a point about society. Don't misunderstand
He's not
me.
made to be sympathetic either.
He's not, I mean, it's the same thing that's in Black Panther when you have Killmonger.
Yeah.
Killmonger targeted innocence and everything else in his history, but there was a lot of people when you were watching that movie saying he might be right.
Yeah,
he's wrong with what he's doing or how he's doing it, but he might be right, and that's what I think that made Joker great, because instead of playing him insane, they played him sinister.
Yeah.
Oh, I think he is insane. I think he's just devoid of, any sort of logic or reason, or he's devoid of. What makes him most terrifying is that he's devoid of fear.
Right.
Yeah. And you wonder,
but even when he think, I'm sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
No, I was going to say, you wonder if he's even human sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't, like, when Batman has him in the interrogation room and he's punching his hand and he's slamming him, the guy feels no pain. He's just laughing.
Yeah.
You know?
But he's also laughing because he's right. Remember when Batman punched him in the head, he said, you don't want to start with the head, you get all fuzzy, he hits the hand better.
Well,
that's what he
the
wants
point
to
about
do.
it is,
when he turned around and said to Batman, with all your might, there's nothing you can do, he was dead to rights. He had him screwed to the wall. That's why Jim Gordon and everybody else tried to get in there, because they were afraid Batman was going to cross that line.
And
that's the reaction that he wanted from Batman.
Even in the movie itself, when he faces the mafia and one calls him crazy, that's the only time he wasn't joking when he said, "I'm not."
Yeah, he kills that guy.
He says, "Are you crazy?" No.
You know, no, I'm not. I'm not. And the thing about it was, he was. See, that's why, to me, when it goes back into the beginning, when he takes off his rubber mask in the bank, because you got his backstory through everybody else. I heard he wears war paint. I heard he does this, and then blah 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 blah. When he takes off the mask and you see him, and he's not Jack Nicholson, or he's not Cesar Romero, you look at him. I remember the first time I saw it in the movie theater, but out loud I went, "Oh fuck." Because he looked nothing.
Yeah.
And you can say he's crazy, but to me, it's just like what Alfred said. Some people just want to watch the world burn.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's got the logic of a suicide bomber.
Right.
Yeah.
It's got the logic of a mass shooter.
Exactly.
Yeah. Go ahead, Eric.
One of my favorite scenes, because we're kind of jumping around, but we're still talking.
Sorry, that was my fault.
No. We were doing that before you were here, John. Don't worry about it.
We haven't even started talking about the movie.
I know. We're just.
Okay.
We're just kind of piecemeal through it.
Yeah, we're just piecemeal.
Thank you for waiting for me.
That's all right. Everybody's seen this movie, so you know.
Well, Mike said is, he's got the plan of like a suicide bomber. One of my favorite scenes, if not my favorite scene in this movie, and this is the scene that really makes, in my opinion, the Joker scary. Like, not just the hostage scenes with the video camera and stuff like that. That's scary stuff too. My favorite scene, and I think when he's at his scariest, is when he's in the hospital. He's dressed as the nurse. It's one of those funny ha-ha moments because he got the red wig. Right. But I love when he walks up to Harvey Dent and he allows Harvey to put the gun to Joker's forehead, and he says, "Do I look like the guy that is working with a plan?"
Yeah.
He says, introduce some chaos. And he is all for Harvey Dent's coin flip when he says, heads, you live, tails, you lose, or however it went. 100% the Joker would have been just fine if Dent put a bullet in his head. And that's what I think makes him truly scary.
Because he also knew he'd win.
Yeah. And the idea that he didn't even know what Rachel's name was.
Right.
Yeah. He's absolutely right. He has absolutely no plan. It's just this random sort of thing, but it targets civilians. He's not going after Batman.
Nope.
No. He's killing this person and he's kidnapping that person, and he's just and this was, a perfect example of how sometimes movies can be better if the villain wins. Right. Because in the end he does win. He succeeds in bringing his point, which is his goal from the get-go, to bring everybody down to his level.
Yep.
Right.
They all live long enough. Gordon becomes semi-corrupt by the end of the movie. Batman takes all the blame and is running from the police. They've got the dogs on him. Harvey Dent has killed 5 people and murdered 5 people in cold blood. Yep. He succeeds in bringing everybody down to his level.
And Harvey ends up, when he falls off the roof. Yeah. When he tackled him. Yeah. That's the thing.
The dentist doesn't care anymore.
Yeah. And that's
because he's right. He's right too.
Right.
And that's the, and I got a little upset at the end because, Heath Ledger died before the movie came out. And then that line where, the Joker's hanging upside down and he's like, "We're going to be doing this forever." And it was just like, damn, man. Yeah.
I gotta say, I got a moment about that too. That I've argued with an actor friend of mine for years because I like Heath Ledger when I first saw him.
Mm-hmm.
Even when he made mistakes, I'm going, no, man, he's learning. He's going to. This guy hated him. This guy hated him. He then saw this movie, and he was my boss at a theater. He saw this movie. He came back after he saw the movie, and he was in tears. Because he said after he saw what he did in this movie, he said if that was the potential he could achieve, we've lost our star.
Yeah.
Our generation at that time, we lost him. He he could have been our De Niro. He could have been our.
Think about where he could be now.
Because of what he did.
Yeah.
All right. Let's start getting into a bit of the movie.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Where are we at whereabouts? We mentioned the bank robbery. Where are we?
Well, we start off with the bank robbery, and you can already see the theme of escalation.
Right.
Because now whereas in the first movie, the mob ruled everything. And Ra's al Ghul's been defeated. Now you just have random fucking people robbing mob banks. So that's a clear sign. We've talked about two things. One, John, while you were away, the theme of escalation, and two, the Joker's idea of bringing everybody down to his level. Yeah. So we see already the escalation there, and we get a great scene from William Fichtner as the.
He's great.
He's great in that as the bank manager. Who's clearly corrupt.
I'm dead.
You know who you're stealing from?
You and your friends are dead.
Him.
And I love that at the end of that where you think he's going to get his head blown off when Joker sticks that thing in his mouth, the smoke bomb, but it's like a grenade, and then the bus pulls away the pin, and you think his head's going to blow off,
smoke,
and the smoke comes out. And he's just like, oh,
because it's just random. But you see already that the Joker has influence over these people to bring them down from a standard bank robbery to a bank robbery where each person is murdering the other person on the team. So he's the only one left standing. He murders the final person. They don't even know that he's the actual Joker. That the boss is actually in there among them.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just it's fucking great. I mean,
it's amazing that his first line, and as a writer point of view, that the Joker's first line, besides the head nod, it was, "No, I'm waiting for the bus driver."
Something like, "No, I killed the bus driver."
The most casual line, no threat, no nothing. No, I'm waiting for the bus driver. And which said a lot also about this character that either added to his insanity or his dark nature. He was just so casual about it. There was no, evil.
As long as things were chaotic, he was happy.
He didn't care, is what it was.
He didn't care.
Exactly.
Yeah. He doesn't really care. So we get to back to Gotham City. Gordon is now using the light to sort of the bat signal to intimidate, people in the city. Thinking that Batman's around that night, which is kind of cool. You got the great Gary Oldman, doing a great job as always. I think this is one of my favorite Gary Oldman roles.
He's so fucking
he's good
and everything, but he is so damn good as Gordon.
He is.
Yeah, he's an interesting character.
He's a different person every time you see him.
He's the only honest cop at this point.
At this point,
all the people in the major crimes are all corrupt, and
It was good to see Commissioner Gordon not be a buffoon. From like the Adam West stuff, or even Pat Hingle, in the Tim Burton and the Schumacher stuff. Jim Gordon doesn't do shit in those four Batman movies before. I've always joked about it. This is a deep cut. Maximum Overdrive, that shitty Emilio Estevez Stephen King movie. Pat Hingle did more in his 40 minutes on screen than he did in 4 fucking Batman movies as Commissioner Gordon. Commissioner Gordon was awful. But then once you put Oldman in the role, he's a great cop. He wants justice, and it's just a fantastic actor.
Well, it's the same way that you approach the character. I remember hearing a interview with Adam West when he said, people used to meet me on the street when the Batman series was first out and said they would get mad at him. Is what the series did to the comic book. And it was Bob Kane was walking next to him and looked at a guy and said, "Have you read the comic book?" He said the series was more dedicated to the comic book.
Yeah, exactly.
After Robin the Boy Wonder joined.
Yeah.
And became, he goes, and he said, and that's the reason why. It's Sherlock Holmes, when you have Watson. In the book, Watson is very smart and intelligent and everything else. In the movies, they make him a buffoon.
Yeah.
For comic relief. What they did was going, no, you got a guy who has to be smart. He's a detective. He's not an idiot. And that's what makes even the Batman smarter, because he's a step or two ahead of him.
So, all right, well, we've got Gordon, but we've also got an escalation in other types of crime. Cillian Murphy's still out there, and it was great to see him.
That was a cool cameo.
Yeah, he's great as the Scarecrow. But you've also got that Chechen dude.
Yeah.
So, all kinds of real savage kind of organized crime, and the Batman comes in and he breaks up that
But then
he's right to it.
Then you have the Batman copycats, which I like that.
The Sons of the Batman.
Yeah, these guys with guns and stuff. They got AKs.
Yeah, so you've got this is what they mean by escalation. You've also got the other because you could argue that Batman is a little unstable. To take on something like what he's doing, that Bruce Wayne is not really the most stable person in the world. But you've also got these unstable people of much lesser means going out there in hockey pads and shotguns
and doing something about it.
They want to become vigilantes, like he is, and he just wants nothing to do with them. His idea, and again, bringing people, ordinary citizens down into this nightlife now, to commit crime, because that's basically what they're doing. They're shooting people and, getting themselves killed and attacked by dogs. And, it's this thing that he never really gets a full grip on.
What's the first thing he says to Alfred after it's over? There were more copycats last night.
Yeah.
It's a complaint. He doesn't even expect the Batman symbol to do that.
Yeah.
Type deal. I think that caught Bruce Wayne even off guard. That there would be these people coming out and risking their lives.
Yeah. Well, how could you, these are clearly uncharted waters.
Right.
So go ahead.
No, I was going to say, real quick, I have to mention Michael Caine. One of my favorite actors is my favorite Alfred. My second favorite Alfred is Sean Pertwee from Gotham.
Yes.
Yes.
He's a badass. But Michael Caine, because, Alfred's been such a throwaway character. And even in the new one, the Batman, Andy Serkis, I didn't really care for him as Alfred as much.
Yeah, anybody
Michael Caine, the way he interacts with Batman in this, just he's Batman's kind of partner in crime in this, his associate, his partner in fighting crime, I should say, kind of like what they did with Jeremy Irons. But Michael Caine just brings such, I don't know, coolness to the role.
I was just telling Beyonce earlier that Michael Caine made such a perfect help. I was just telling her that.
Yeah. I mean,
great
he's not like, Michael Gough in the Burton ones.
Right.
And, Michael Caine's just like,
no,
you're giving it more. I'm sorry, Mike, go ahead.
I was saying the reason it works is because you've given an A-list actor something to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's written to be an equal or damn near equal component to Batman.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
He almost serves as like a mentor, as an advisor. He's almost like a spiritual guide. He tells him at the very beginning, you can see that this is catching up with Bruce Wayne. Because he takes his shirt off, he's getting all stitched up, and his body is just racked with bruises, and contusions, and old stitches, and stitches that have come. He's just a mess. So he's getting the living shit beaten out of him every night. And he tells him, know your limits.
Know your limits.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's, and that's another thing is that, this thing is spinning out of control. He never has been in control of it.
And that's that's one good thing about Michael Caine being cast as Alfred, because he's supposed to be like the father figure of Bruce, since the parents' murders and stuff. And this isn't a knock on anyone else who's played Alfred, but what is great about Michael Caine is his delivery. It's not over the top. It's very soft spoken. But what I like about this is in the words he said, and they're perfectly written for Alfred, but also in just like Michael Caine's facial features, you can tell that he's worried about Bruce.
Right. Yeah.
When Bruce needs advice, and like I said, Bruce is a loner. He will go to Alfred for advice, and Alfred's telling him what he needs to hear, not what he wants to hear. And that's what a father needs to do. You tell them what they need to hear, and you believe the pain in his face. You know what I mean? It's very simple, very subtle, but like when he sees Bruce all fucked up, you can tell that he's like, we need to chill out a little bit. Or when he's, what am I supposed to do? Endure.
Yeah.
Boom. One word. Yeah. And he gets his point across.
He brings a dignified moral authority to
Yeah, definitely.
He doesn't teach or preach to him, but he tells, he's that, I don't want to say Jiminy Cricket because that cheapens it.
Mm-hmm.
But that conscience on his shoulder, this is what it is. Like he says, you endure.
Yep.
And he keeps it simple.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's not preachy. It's not full of platitudes that would annoy the shit out of somebody who just had to fight for his life all night.
Yeah.
It's just a simple message that's direct, and comes gently. There's no yelling. He doesn't try to boss him around or anything like that. And so it works. Now, somebody without a moral compass in this movie is the great Eric Roberts. Eric Roberts is perfectly cast as Maroni, the successor to Carmine Falcone. And to show you that crime is escalating, I mean, there's actually an attempt to murder Harvey Dent in the middle of a trial. That is being thrown. So escalation is just occurring everywhere. They're killing public officials or attempting to kill public officials in broad daylight.
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead, Ryan.
No, I was going to say, that courtroom scene where the guy tries to kill him, that's kind of a riff on how Harvey Dent became Two-Face in the comics. Because in the comics, he was prosecuting this mob guy, and the mob guy threw acid in his face. So it was kind of a little riff on that,
Well, if you remember also in Batman Begins, Katie Holmes's boss discovers that the water demister or whatever it is, and they just kill him. The cop that's his escort pulls out a gun and just shoots him in the back like 4 times, and you just never hear from him again. But at least that was done in such a way that, he just disappeared one day. Here, they're attempting to kill him in broad daylight in front of 100 people, and they just don't give a fuck.
Exactly. No. Again, like with the Joker, they just don't care. And man, we're gushing over this cast, but there's perfect reason. I fucking love Eric Roberts. I mean, he comes from say what you want about his sister Julie, but he comes from an acting family. His sister Julie Roberts, his daughter is Emma Roberts, who's very successful in her own right. But Eric Roberts is so good, whether it's something cheesy like the Best of the Best movies.
I love that movie.
Exactly. But here's the thing: he can play, the air quotes best of the best action hero, but he's great as a villain, and that's what makes him his money. Whether it's this. The first Expendables movie, he's great in that. My wife, like most women, loves her Lifetime Hallmark movies. That's where I'm going with it, because you're married. Sometimes you gotta bite the bullet and watch the movie with your wife. That's where he makes his money. You wouldn't know or realize how many times he is the villain in those movies, and he is really scary. And he's just so good. And he was perfect in this because he's dignified. He's a mobster, but he's not intimidating looking. You know what I mean? Physically,
sleazy too.
But he's sleazy, and you say one wrong word, he'll get you, but you won't know when.
Yeah, he's
months, a year later.
Another
really role, he's that snake character.
Exactly.
Another really good Eric Roberts role. I like him, and I like this movie is years ago there was a TV miniseries of the Odyssey.
Yes.
Armand Assante.
Yep.
I love that movie.
Me too.
And Eric Roberts plays the villain in that. He's the suitor, the chief suitor, Antinous, who's trying to marry Penelope. And he's great in that because he's a slimy, just macho jerk,
Stevie,
you know.
Yeah.
He has this, and in this role too, there's this certain amount of smarm about him. I mean, look at that picture, that smirk.
He's just like smug. Yeah,
that's it. Perfect.
He's smug and he feels untouchable.
Yep.
He's this greasy, sleazy guy, and he really. But if you look at the difference between him and Falcone, the great Tom Wilkinson, who played Carmine Falcone in the first movie, he wasn't a sleazy gangster. He didn't have that aura of sleaze.
No, he was much more. He was much more of a bruiser.
Mm-hmm.
Falcone was much more of a physical guy. He wouldn't hesitate to have people beat you right there in front of everybody.
I mean,
he pulled a gun on Christian Bale right there in the middle of the bar.
Yeah, Maroney's a weasel, and you know, he looks like a weasel.
And what's great about it is even after they attempt to kill Harvey Dent, he still doesn't even blink.
Yeah. He's still
sitting in that chair. He's still sitting in that chair, just looking up at him like, you can't fucking touch me. You know, that's all that matters. Yeah. And there's that great line where Dent and Gordon meet, and he goes, "It's a shame Sal's going to walk." He goes, "But it's the mob. They keep giving you second chances." So, you know, they're going to fuck up again, and, you know, we're going to do this all over again at some point. So, you know, so things are ramping up. And then, you know, there's a bit of what did you guys think of Maggie Gyllenhaal?
I liked her.
I thought she was
liked
fine.
her better than Katie Holmes.
I agree. Katie Holmes was really flat.
It wasn't. I just found her to be annoying.
I was so happy that she was replaced.
Yeah, I don't know that much about Katie Holmes, or I haven't seen too many Katie Holmes movies, so I can't offer an opinion on her one way or the other. I do know that in Batman Begins, she was kind of like pointing, like she's wagging her finger all the time.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
she's like that
just
in every role. She's like that in everything she's in. She's basically the same character.
Really? She just wags her finger the whole fucking time?
Yes.
Yeah, like you can tell there's a difference between the way she played Rachel and the way Maggie Gyllenhaal plays Rachel.
And apparently, what's her name again?
Maggie Gyllenhaal?
Katie Holmes. Katie Holmes declined this movie to do some other shit movie.
Right. Well, and also I think because the Scientologists didn't agree with it or something too. Right. So, you know.
Oh, really? Was that the case?
Yeah, it was something like that because she was married to Tom Cruise at the time.
Katie Holmes played Bruce Wayne's cute girlfriend.
Yeah.
And that's what they wanted to keep her as.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't work. I mean, Maggie Gyllenhaal, brought a sense of, to use your word, Michael, escalation in the maturity.
Yeah, she's much more mature
on how the world was running and knew what to do. Yeah. Katie Holmes, and I have nothing against Katie Holmes. I've seen her in a couple of movies I've liked, but it's that, Dawson's Creek.
She's always the same.
That's where she started from. It's the innocent, virginal type.
Yeah, I definitely like Maggie Gyllenhaal better, but
Wait,
Maggie made it work, man.
Hold on a second, Gore. What were you saying?
I was just saying Katie Holmes is a one-trick pony. If you've seen Dawson's Creek, she played a character called Joey on Dawson's Creek, and since then she's been Joey.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite movies is Wonder Boys, and she's in that movie.
Oh yeah, that's right. She's actually good in that. Yeah,
but she's really
she's always good, but she's the same character. You know what I mean?
The same character.
It's not that she's bad. It's not that she's bad.
And if her character fits in that movie,
then it
works.
If
it doesn't fit, it don't work.
I love that movie. She wants to fuck Michael
She said
Douglas. She's always wearing those red cowboy boots.
She turned it down because she was too busy making the Queen Latifah comedy called Mad Money.
Ah, okay.
I bet you she kind of regrets that now because I don't think anyone's ever heard of Mad Money.
Yeah, I don't know if she made Mad Money off that.
If she did the second movie, her husband Tom Cruise would have put her in the Mission Impossible flicks. That's
But
all.
I like what I like about Rachel in this one is that, I think somebody just mentioned it, maybe John, that she's grown up. She's moved on.
Yeah.
She's whereas Batman is still Bruce Wayne's still running around being Batman. She's gonna marry Harvey, or she's dating Harvey Dent. She's
they're living together.
She knows her place and everything, and he's still running around being Batman when other people could be doing the job, or the police, or somebody else,
I'm not sure.
Maggie even looks more mature than Kate.
Yeah, she
and
doesn't look like a
great.
Girl. Yeah,
right.
She looks like a woman.
Right, exactly. I was just going to say that right there. That's the perfect picture. That's the perfect picture right there, because she looks like a woman. Katie Holmes, she's probably my age, in her 40s. She'll always look like she's fucking 18, 21 years old. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's what I always thought about, like Leonardo DiCaprio. Like, he always looked like he was 15 until, like, I saw, what was it, Blood Diamond or something, and he finally looked his age. Even like The Aviator, I couldn't buy him as Howard Hughes because he looked like he was 20.
Right.
So,
To me, it wasn't until he started getting chubby.
That
he started to look like his age.
That's what I mean. Like in Blood Diamond, he was a little chubbier, and
So let's get to Christian Bale.
Christian
Bale comes back, and to me, this is the best Bruce Wayne.
I think so.
By far. I don't know if it's the best Batman. I really do like Affleck, but that's a whole other conversation. But I really like this. Bruce Wayne, the way he plays it, it's very aloof.
Right.
He's playing it like a ninja, like, from the Ra's al Ghul training. He's hiding there in plain sight, the last person you would ever expect to be the Batman. Every time you see him, he's got two supermodels on his arm, or he's got some Russian, ballerina on his arm.
He's always got the Lamborghini.
Yeah, and he's always got that dismissive sort of look on his face, why are we talking about this? Give me another drink. These sorts of things.
Well, and he fits the Playboy millionaire.
Right.
Whereas, if you put him up against, Michael Keaton and Val Kilmer, I mean, yes, Christian Bale is the right age, I think. He's the Playboy kind of thing. I think now, don't shoot me here, I think Val Kilmer actually wasn't a terrible Bruce Wayne, but he didn't have the swagger.
Right.
He didn't have the Bruce Wayne swagger. I thought Michael Keaton was a little too old to play Bruce Wayne.
Clooney had it.
But I think Bale really.
I always thought. Go ahead, Ryan.
No, it's all right. Go ahead.
I was just saying, Clooney. I thought, say what you want about that movie. I think Clooney, and especially at that time, because Clooney was banging supermodels left and right. He was a millionaire. He was a good Bruce Wayne. Not Batman. So
I actually thought Clooney got screwed. He did a good job in a really bad movie.
And the funny thing is, he still apologizes about it to this day.
I know, he still apologizes today. This is what I liked about Christian Bale. One of my favorite things that he did as Bruce Wayne was when he's talking to Alfred, and he goes, "Who attacked you?" And it was a dog, a big dog,
big dog,
like somebody he knew for years. He says, "Stop, get off my ass."
Here's the thing, somebody took the time to write a decent fucking story.
Exactly.
The Nolans and David Goyer actually took the time to create a decent fucking. I mean, you can have a great. We've talked about this a million times. You can have a great fucking actor if you don't give him something to do. How many times have I mentioned Stoker's Dracula? I love Gary Oldman. He has a great performance, but it's a shit story.
Yeah.
Here, you're giving him a great story where he can.
They don't have
my only quibble.
Go ahead, Ryan. I'm sorry.
No, my only quibble about Batman is, and they all do this, all the actors who do it, it seems like nobody can get the Bat voice right. Like Christian goes, "Where were the other drugs going?" And then you got Mike. Then you got Ben Affleck with that weird motorized Darth Vader voice. You got Keaton who's whispering, "I'm Batman," and kind of Pattinson was kind of doing that too, and Kilmer to a degree. But it's like I thought Bale was a little much with the Bat voice.
Again.
Well, no, people gave him grief the first time in Batman Begins. They gave him grief. They said he didn't make the voice distinctive from his Bruce Wayne voice. So he said, "The hell with it. I'm going."
Okay,
I'm
that's
going to go
why.
the exact. I'm going to go deeper.
Think of it, again, let's go back to Clooney. They all tried. Clooney was the only one who didn't change his voice one fucking bit.
He changed his
From
voice.
Batman to Bruce Wayne. Yeah.
I actually liked Christian Bale's voice as Batman.
It made sense, yes, because you have to hide
it. Even when he did the same line as Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
Because they asked Michael Keaton and what when he pulls up the thing and says, "I'm Batman," when he did it with Falcone. Not Falcone, whoever was the mob in the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah.
The first one.
Oh, no, that was Falcone. Yeah.
That was Falcone. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They asked Michael Keaton, could they do that line? And he said, yeah, go ahead. But that's why he did it. He said, oh, hell yeah, man. I get to say the line.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing was, you could understand him when he said, I'm Batman.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I mean, it's just he's done a great. Like I said, it's another one of those things where everything is firing.
Yeah.
At 100%.
Yeah.
The story's firing. The direction's firing. The performances are firing.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen very often.
Right.
Yeah.
We've been lucky to cover a lot of films where, they do fire at 100%. But even within this show, at 120 shows, there aren't that many that we constantly say are 100%.
Yeah.
Maybe a handful.
Right.
Now these other films and franchises and directors and performers, maybe this part was good. Like I just said about Returns. Michelle Pfeiffer fucking rules in that. It's a terrible fucking movie, I think.
Right.
You could have, and maybe Val Kilmer's good, or maybe George Clooney is good, but there are other parts that detract from the whole.
Yeah.
Here,
this is firing on all cylinders. Yeah.
It's just, everything is in fucking sixth gear, which brings us to the mob meeting.
Yeah, that's a great scene.
And if you ever want to talk about a person who's able to bring even the mob down to his level,
yeah,
he does it like that. Like he just takes over that whole room instantly.
I'm gonna do a magic trick.
Well, all of these, men that are used to being, in charge of everything, are instantly just bitch slapped.
Oh yeah,
by this guy who doesn't really, by a clown who's stolen all their money.
Right.
Yeah. And I love the way he just insults them all at that meeting too. And it's just and
like
when
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and I love when he leaves the meeting and he's got those grenades in his coat. And he's like, and he's got the pin. Like he's not. It's the same thing with when Harvey put the gun to his head. He's not afraid to blow himself up.
Exactly.
With all of them.
It is exactly what he says towards the end of the movie. It's a different class of criminal.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give it to him.
Operating at a completely different level.
Right.
They're all interested in his money. And they don't understand that yet.
Right.
He's just taking the money to antagonize them because he needs a little money, because, these are the realities of life. But it's not about money for him. And they're so used to having things their way for so long that they don't understand exactly who this person is.
Right.
And what's really cool is, look, that's the perfect picture you got right there, Mike, because think about literally, we don't know who the Joker is. Like, if this is you're one of the mob guys, you have this guy walking in dressed in purple, and he's painted up literally like a clown. But he looks like you cannot take him seriously. You know what I mean?
He's like a crackhead.
Exactly. Right. And then the thing is,
yeah,
he does not show 1 ounce of intimidation to these people.
Right.
And with the perfect line is, one of them, I don't know if it's Michael Jai White, who says, you think you're just going to walk out here with our money? And he just says, just like that. Yeah, I am. And that's what is great about his performance. These are men that will kill you in your sleep and then burn down your house. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just to make sure your family doesn't get out. And he doesn't give 2 shits about who he's talking to. And Heath Ledger proved that the Joker is afraid of no man.
Yeah, he's devoid of fear.
Exactly.
You had Eric Roberts, who in the scene or two prior to that, stage a possible assassination of the prosecutor.
Yeah.
And there's a whole group of them. And one of the things he says to him very casually, very calmly, what happened? Did your balls drop off?
Yeah.
The attitude that he brought to it was like, what happened to you people?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's why I said, if you're so good, why didn't you do it before? About, if you're good at something, you don't do it for free. I mean, it's the way he staged it was just like, you're nothing.
Well, and I think what also makes him in that scene where he just doesn't give a shit and he's not scared is when he walks in and, does the magic trick with the pencil, which is, I was just like, holy shit, that first time when he slapped his face right on the pencil. It's like, you weren't expecting that. Like, Gamble tries to act all big and send one of his guys over there. He just goes, wham, and that's it. And then that kills him. That set the tone for the whole thing.
When he walks into the meeting, he's going, ha ha.
Yeah. He tells him the truth. He says that, Lau is a squealer. He's going to squeal.
Yep.
And Lau left. That's the thing, too. He was right.
Yeah. And of course, Lau did ended up squealing, so he caught. And it's just, and that, I think, probably over the past 30 years or maybe more, has been kind of what the Joker is, even in the comics.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He's just a person that you can never get ahead of. You can't get ahead of him. He's constantly 1, 2, maybe 5 steps ahead of you because he's so fucking crazy. You just can't think that way.
Right.
The person who comes closest to being able to think that way is Batman.
Right.
But most of the time, Batman loses to the Joker.
The man who doesn't really have a plan is still 5 steps ahead of everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's nothing to predict.
No.
Right.
No.
How can you predict what he's going to do next?
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to use the cliche, but it's, the Bruce Wayne Batman is more of a detective.
Yeah.
And, they compared him to Sherlock Holmes. So if Batman is Sherlock Holmes, then the Joker's Moriarty, who was always a step or two.
His antithesis.
And that's what makes it work. Because if they were equal, it'd be boring.
Oh yeah.
It really would be boring. They'd be like they said in the one line, just slugging it out in the rooftops.
Yeah.
There's always that like, oh, did you not see that door? You not see that little message I left?
So Lau gets away, takes all their money into hiding, and they go. Dent, Batman, and Gordon form this plan to go after the entirety of the mob's savings.
Right.
And so again, it just keeps ramping up. This just never stops escalating throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
Every action is one up from the next. And from there it just kind of goes to shit. One of the things that I really loved though was the scene where he goes to get Lau out of Hong Kong.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's just a gorgeous fucking scene.
Yeah.
When he does that. I mean, it's the cinematography in this movie is we're talking about the story, but every aspect of it is just fantastic. When he dives off and he's just kind of flying through the air, building up enough momentum to just go through that one fucking window to take Lau out.
Right.
And, he ends up bringing Lau back, and that's where the fucking mob says, okay, I guess we got to hire the Joker. That Chechen guy says he was right.
Yep.
We have to deal with the real problem, Batman. And and there we go. There we go. He gets the fucking job.
Yeah. And I like where that scene where they say where Michael J. White's character Gamble puts the hit out on the Joker, and they say they've killed him, and the guys bring him into his lair, and then he does the Scar story, and in a weird jump edit, somehow he kills Gamble, and then where he breaks the cue stick, and is like, we're rapidly expanding, whatever he gets, and we're going to have tryouts. And he throws the cue stick down. So one of those guys has to kill the other.
Yeah, he said he says we're going to have there's room for like advancement or something, but we only have one space open.
Aggressive expansion. Aggressive expansion.
To put those guys in that position, like, well, who's it going to be? You know, he's bringing them down to his level, even those guys.
And who wants
taking that cue stick and saying, "Boom, one of you kill the other." Who's it going to be?
Oh, there's 3 of them.
There's 3 of them.
Oh, there's 3 of them.
Right. That's the point. Who's going to kill 2?
Yes, somebody's going to kill 2 people.
Who's going to go down to that level?
Yeah,
I actually read an article recently where they were interviewing Michael J. White because it was the anniversary of The Dark Knight, and they were saying what happened in that scene, what happened to Gamble, and he had said there was actually a lot more that they had filmed of the Joker actually killing him, but the way the finished product, and you just see him kind of fall, and Michael J. White was like, "Oh, okay, I guess I died." Like, what happened, you know? But he said working with Heath Ledger was awesome because he said from his perspective, he said, you know, a lot of actors don't care about his opinion. You know, they just kind of, it's just do your thing and that's it. But he said Heath Ledger was always in that scene and in the scenes they had together was always asking him like, hey, is it cool if we do this? He actually wanted Michael J. White's input in the, you know, in how the thing was played. And Michael J. White was like, rarely does that happen, you know? And I mean, it's a great scene, but yeah, it's a neat little interview.
Well, what ends up happening from there, we get to the Joker's first actions. And it isn't to kill the Batman.
No.
It's to kill Judge Cirillo.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's to kill Commissioner Loeb. And it's to kill Harvey Dent.
Yeah.
So his first real act working for the mob is like, you know, this extreme case of fucking terrorism. You know, and I like the Commissioner Loeb character. I like that character. You know, you got the feeling he knew that things were fucked up. He didn't seem to really be a part of it. You know, he was just trying to do the best that he could under the conditions. I liked him in the first movie. I liked him in the second movie, and I was kind of bummed when he died. But the Joker just goes on a fucking murdering spree.
And it's while they're at that party, which is great too. That party scene's awesome. You know?
There's a story that Michael Kane had lines for when the Joker first opens the garage, opens the elevator door and comes out. But he was so startled by his appearance, maybe because he hadn't seen him yet, that he literally forgot the lines, and they ended up filming it with him just kind of pushing his way through, which turned out to be perfect.
And
he's
you know, could you see the look on his face where it's like, what the hell is that? You know, and he just kind of walks in with the shotgun and lets off that round into the fucking ceiling. And, you know, then it's fucking on.
He commands that room. Ledger does. Like he walks in, you know, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You know, just his voice changes octaves, and he's got a shotgun. He's got all of his thugs, and what does he do? He gets some shrimp. He chews on that, throws it, and that's what I also like. And what I like about him,
drinks the champagne.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. He bites the shrimp, like he takes a nibble, but you hear him like over exaggerate. You hear the noise with his lips, and then when like Brian said, he grabs the champagne, but if you look, he throws the champagne in the air, so he's drinking from an empty glass, and he doesn't care because he's just there for show.
And it's a plastic glass at that.
Well, and you know though, that guy that he confronts, that old guy who's like, we're not intimidated by whatever. That guy is actually a U.S. senator. His name's
Patrick Leahy.
Leahy, and he's a huge Batman fan, and he's been in like all the Batman movies somewhere. Like it's pretty cool. But that scene, and then I love when Batman, then you're gonna love me, and he shows up. And that crazy herky-jerky fight that they had, like the Joker and it's all over the place. And he throws one of his own guys in front, you know, and then he's got that little knife boot and he's trying to kick. It's just such a goofy, like, that's how I picture Batman and the Joker fighting. The Joker's this little skinny man, like just kind of just all over the place, trying to,
But what made it work, and it's something that is incorporated throughout the whole movie. And something I like to jump on is sound leads things into it. In the bank scene, it was more with sounds that led when you never saw Batman come into the room, which is what you're not supposed to. But when she goes, "You got a little fight in you," I liked that, and you just heard, "Then you're gonna love me." Smack.
Yeah,
and then the fight goes.
Yeah,
and that's the point. Like even when he throws the one guy at Batman, and Batman hits him over the shoulder of the other guy, the Joker clubs Batman. I mean, it's but it's the whole concept of sound in this show. I mean, I use this in an acting class too, because there's a lot of times in this movie, all you hear is a violin note, especially when he goes, "They know I got these scars." It's a violin that's sustaining the note, and it slowly brings up your nerves and stuff like that because something's coming.
Yeah, there's like this buzz that occurs every time, and it just keeps rising and rising. It's almost like they did something similar to that in season 3 of Daredevil with Bullseye.
Yeah,
and it's a hornet's nest.
Yeah,
because you can hear the fucking crazy. When he really starts to lose the sound that sounds very much like a hornet's nest as he's just becoming fucking unhinged.
It's brilliantly done, and it's just subtle. They work a lot. You can keep going back to how everything fires on cylinders, and that's another point. It's just damn. Yeah. I love that scene. And again, Maggie Gyllenhaal, when she says, "Okay, stop," I can't picture Katie Holmes saying that.
Right.
No, she'd be wagging her finger at fucking Heath Ledger. Okay, you stop that now. You stop that. Stop.
And
he'd be ashamed of you.
And I love it when he goes, hello, beautiful, and he tries to fix his hair.
Yeah.
He licks his lips.
Yeah. Hello, beautiful.
This brings us to one of the most important scenes where Alfred explains to Batman that story from Burma. And that some people, because you could tell that Batman is kind of in his year 2 phase, and he doesn't quite understand, and he gets this bit of parental advice that maybe this is someone you don't understand.
Yeah.
That this is although we think of it now in modern terms, this is like a mass shooter. People who just want to burn the whole world.
Yep.
This is a Bin Laden. Someone who just wants to burn everything. And this is this is a suicide bomber, who wants to do these sorts of things. So this isn't a person who's motivated by greed like Maroni,
right?
Or something like that, or power, even necessarily. This is just pure chaos. And that this is, to me, the most important thing in the movie. What happens next? Because the commissioner dies, and then I think no, this is before that. It might. I can't remember if Gordon gets shot or not, but the city starts to turn on Batman.
No, Gordon gets shot at the funeral.
At the commissioner's funeral, right?
Yeah.
But so that happens. So I don't necessarily want to get into that because we'll be here for like 4 hours if we get through this whole thing, which is fine, and I can do that too. It's not a big deal. But what I'm saying is that one of the most important things in the film for me was that the city starts to turn on Batman. The police start to turn on Batman. The everyday citizens start to turn on Batman because he's forcing them out of their apathy.
Right.
He's like the only person, and you've got Dent, but Batman is taking the brunt of the blame for all these things that are happening because these people have become so apathetic that it's not the Joker's fault that he's killing these people. It's Batman's fault.
Right.
And I just thought that was an incredible piece of writing to have that occur to people. It isn't in any other sort of standard, and it would be fine writing. It would be that the people were supporting Batman. The people were, they've done this sort of with the Snyderverse, where people were maybe turning on Superman, this sort of thing. But it was originally done here. Where the one person who's doing the right thing is the one who's taking the brunt and the blame from society. And when Alfred says he's not being a hero, he's being something more.
Yeah.
That's just so important and just such a fantastic part of the story.
Right.
that he's shouldering all these things.
I mean,
but maybe you don't feel the same.
No, I actually, to me, it gets wrapped up in a wonderful soliloquy, a dual soliloquy at the end of the movie that Gordon does, where he's talking to the son and then talking to the public, not the hero we deserve, but the one that, the one we needed, and he's flipping it on the other way. That really did, add into that. And the Joker knew how to push those buttons when he killed one of the Bat kids or the Bat, impersonators.
Yeah.
When he said, "What's your name? What's your name?" And like almost like a terrorist video.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he turned around, and which again goes to one of the scariest things using sound. Look at me! Look at me! Look at me!
Exactly.
You see his face, but the way the guy's eyes snapped and everything else, you saw the Joker, the true Joker, and that's what he said. "I'm going to kill one more of you." He knew exactly what to do.
And that was really Heath Ledger holding the handheld camera. That footage was really shot by him.
Yeah, but that was, and that's what I think that adds to it, because Batman couldn't come out. If he came out, it would have still go on.
Accomplished. Yeah, it would have. It wouldn't have. He wouldn't have stopped.
He wouldn't have stopped.
Yeah. He wouldn't have stopped. So it was a false argument.
Yeah,
from the get-go.
But people didn't understand that, and the Joker knew how to play it.
But there's also one of my favorite characters in this whole movie, Coleman Reese.
Oh, that little sniveling guy, yeah.
Yes.
Coleman Reese wants $10 million a year for the rest of his life.
Yeah, he tries to blackmail Lucius Fox. That's great. And I love Morgan Freeman in that scene where he's like, "And your plan is to blackmail this person?"
The way he takes off his glasses. Let me get this straight. Hold on.
Yeah.
So, but Coleman Reese, comes back to sort of bite them in the end.
Yeah.
And it also the Gore is gone. Gore's having tech trouble here today.
Yeah.
I blame me. Ever since I came on, it's
he's been getting kicked out.
But he uses.
Thanks, John.
Thanks.
He uses Coleman Reese to get everybody against Batman. Or whatever that is at the end, he uses the people to kill Coleman Reese.
Yeah, he turns the whole city on its head.
Tell him I won't do this.
The citizenry of Gotham is kind of they're a character in this story, and they play a prominent part.
Gotham City has always been a character in these movies, and that's what I like.
Not to this extent, though.
No, not at all. But that's what I mean.
This is ramped up to like the ultimate degree.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a physical, it's a physical character.
Yeah.
When you saw and when you see people in the city, especially going after Coleman Reese, when you see them sweat over making a decision, and you start seeing it after that. Now, the one cop in the car whose mother's in the hospital. The one guy in the crowd who sees it, they're struggling with that. Do I go down to that level?
And that's the success
of
the
city
Joker.
that's doing it, and it's what's making it work, because that adds so much pressure to Batman, to Gordon, and even to Harvey Dent. That's why when Harvey Dent said, "I am Batman," I was like, damn, nice cut.
We've got Gretchen Dar saying, "Hey," and we've got Slasher Fred. The meeting of the criminals kind of reminds me of the original Batman film from 1989, which is Ryan's favorite.
I didn't know.
Jack Palance, isn't it? Jack Palance?
Oh, Jack Palance is awesome. That
Sugar
Bumps. He's great. You are my number one guy. He's awesome. Yeah, that scene where I know what he's talking about. That scene where he shakes the guy's hand with the hand buzzer and burns him up.
Yeah. I'm glad you did.
Well, it's funny because Jack Nicholson, I think, when they had asked him to do that, he got. I think that's the movie that made him rich because he demanded like half of the movie gross or something like that. He negotiated some deals, and he was that's kind of the movie. he'd been around for years,
Mhm.
but that was
This
the
is-
movie that really put
if
him
I'm
on the
not
map.
mistaken, the way the contract was written,
Yeah,
even the Warner Brothers movie, the Batman that came out a few weeks ago,
yeah.
he gets a percentage of.
He gets a percentage
Oh.
of anything Batman related when it comes to the
Wow.
movies, and that includes
Yeah,
That's a nice
merchandising
I mean,
too.
that was
Wow.
It was brilliant. And when I read this contract, I'm going, you should have stuck with Robin Williams, who was originally cast as a Joker.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because that's
He
what they said. Robin Williams lost 2 jobs to Jack Nicholson.
that was the thing. He made sure he didn't get a lot of money for his fee, like his acting
Right.
fee, but he
Backhand.
merchandising,
Oh,
any
God.
type of promotional tie-ins. Remember, McDonald's, had everything Batman, and this included Batman Returns,
He
the 2
made
Schumacher films. Yep.
It was like 2%, 4% of everything. And I'm like, that's a
Jeez.
lot of percent.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
on a movie like that. He was probably pissed at George Clooney.
He wasn't pissed at George Clooney when that check cleared.
No, not at
Yeah,
all.
exactly. Yeah.
So the city starts to descend.
Yes.
Gordon has been shot, and then one of the best action scenes where they try to transport Harvey Dent
Yeah.
on the lower
Christ,
fifth.
this was
And
awesome.
what terrified me was that scene with the burning fire truck.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just how much things had broken down where without explanation, there could just be a burning fire truck like right there in the middle of one of the major arteries of a major metropolitan city.
Yep.
Mhm.
And it's just a fantastic action scene.
Yeah.
That car chase. Yeah.
You get to see the Bat Pod for the first time.
All in downtown Chicago too. Jesus.
Yeah. I love how when Joker's in the truck, every weapon he has gets subsequently bigger. Like first thing that they have some huge bazooka at the end that he's
and I love that when somebody goes, it's going to take a bazooka to take us out. You see?
And then boom, there is some good humor in it. I mean,
it's perfectly done by him. It's not camp humor. It's
not.
well, and it's all on legend. Like I love when he's driving the truck and the windshield is shot out. It's got all the bullet holes and all this, and he's laughing. He's not just laughing; he's cackling because he is having a good time doing it. He's not just getting the job done; he's also enjoying it.
Here's a question: Do you think that we can speculate this? I've read this before. People speculated that, of course, and everybody's got an opinion, but that this particular Joker was some sort of military.
I've heard that too.
I never heard that.
I've heard that. Yeah, I've read that this was some sort of, and you don't know who he is.
Yeah,
but a lot of people say from the way that he can handle weapons, he's actually a competent fighter. He can't really win a fist fight with Batman, but he can hold his own.
It makes sense when you think about it because he's got not just knowledge of assault rifles. He's got hand-to-hand combat with the knives and stuff like that.
Right.
And the thing is, he may be crazy and he may air quotes not have a plan, but he knows what he's doing.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's had some type of training. So it does make sense.
There's a guy in Oxford for his master's thesis approached the movie like a book and wrote that. He goes, "Is the Joker a military? Could he be considered a military terrorist? A combative terror when he went after Gotham."
Mm-hmm.
And that's how he approached it, because he said if you look at each step, and it's the same thing that you brought up, Mike, was in he got the city to turn and everything. He amped everything up, and
the way that he's able to destabilize. And destabilize infrastructures and destabilize the mob and law enforcement and almost like a some sort of special forces kind of guy. And I've seen military people on like their IGs or whatever saying, this guy was definitely one of those guys you send in to like destabilize governments and overthrow things and that kind of crap.
This is why it goes every time I see that or I read something about that or watch this movie again. To me, it goes back when the Joker saying to the mobsters when they said he's crazy. I'm not. I'm not. That really, because that could easily be just a throwaway line. But I've come to the conclusion the way this movie was written,
Yeah.
there's very few throwaway lines in this flick.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It makes you think. If like we said, he's not afraid of anything. If you've been in the shit when it comes to being in military, and who knows if he was overseas in a conflict, he's not going to be afraid of anything after.
No, not of mobsters.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like Barenthal playing the Punisher.
Yeah.
He just comes right in and just starts wiping out mobsters.
Yeah. That theory makes a lot of. I never thought about it, but it makes a lot of sense that he could have been.
Yeah. So
there was
something.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, there was another one that was written because if you realize at this time, a few months prior to that, the first Iron Man film came out.
Yeah.
Type deal. And it was funny because people were talking about, oh my God, the best comic book movie put on film. And they were talking about Iron Man, the way it was converted. And then when The Dark Knight came out, and I said, I disagree.
Yeah.
Because there were less CGI. It was practical fighting.
Mm-hmm.
When the truck went over,
that's amazing how they did that.
I watched how they did that on Entertainment Tonight just to catch any extra clips of how they flipped that truck. It was beautiful.
Yeah, and there's I like that there's no music or anything. You just see this thing go and go.
You just hear the grinding of the metal.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
and then he climbs out. That's the best part.
Because he knew it was coming. He saw it was coming to prep for it.
One of the things that DC has in its arsenal are the three most well-known comic book characters of all time.
Right.
They've got Batman. They've got Superman. They've got Wonder Woman.
Right.
That's the holy trinity right there. I mean, Marvel aside, they've got great characters. Don't misunderstand me. Right. But you've got the three best characters right there in your roster.
Right.
And what they've done is, and this is what separates it from an Iron Man kind of movie. And I love the first Iron Man. I own it on Blu-ray.
So did I.
But they make adult-based, dark stories that are different from the semi-comedic, things with Downey or, with Ed Norton later, or with, Chris Hemsworth. He's getting tased by Kat Dennings, half the time. And, not so much, maybe a little bit with Captain America. These are adult-based dramas and crime thrillers, which is why we're covering it for the Summer of Crime. That's why we're not talking about, whatever else that MCU is doing. And this just happens to be the best of that bunch.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you watch that whole fight sequence, because you talked about how beautiful it was done. A few years before that, you had Tobey Maguire and
who's Dr. Octopus?
Who's Doc Ock?
Alfred Molina.
Alfred Molina, yeah.
On that fight scene on the train.
On the train, yeah.
Because there's a lot of people who compare it with that, even though one CGI, the way they build up the intensity.
Yeah.
As it went along. But there was just something about the Batman thing, because you knew they ain't in front of a blue screen or a green screen. They're going to town to make this work.
And they're bold enough to kill off their characters.
Right.
I never would have guessed that Rachel gets killed.
That was a holy shit moment for me in the theater.
Yeah, yeah.
She was a character from the first movie. Rachel Dawes is and even though I don't necessarily, she was prominent in the first movie, more prominent in the second movie as part of this new triangle that's going on between her and Dent and Bruce. But that she would just die that never would have occurred to me. That's so bold.
And then I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, but that's her death is part of what turns Harvey Dent into. It was all part of this to turn
that's
Harvey
what turned
Dent
him
to bring him down. Yeah,
my world is gone.
Yeah, that's one thing. Joker makes him choose, and he, of course, because Bruce Wayne took over, he's going after Rachel.
Right.
And because he, the whole, my God, the switching of the addresses was brilliant. You know what I mean? But what was really great is, Katie Holmes bashing notwithstanding, Rachel's very likable in this movie. You know what I mean? As Maggie, you know, like we've already said why you cared about her and you wanted Bruce to save her, and you really didn't expect her to die. My prediction was he was going to rescue Rachel, and then Dent was going to get saved from the explosion but burned, and that's how Two-Face happened. What was really shocking, it wasn't just that Rachel was killed. She was killed mid-sentence. She couldn't even finish what she was saying because, boom, that's what gets you. That's what I like is in a movie about a fucking millionaire who dresses up like a bat and fights a dude painted up like a clown. This is a realistic, air quotes, you know, film, and that's real life. You know, if someone's going to be blown up, they're not always going to be able to finish their sentence. And that's what kind of hits it even more, in my opinion, with her death. Is it's just
the
you know
moment.
I
mean? I remember the moment when she heard Batman come in, and you hear Harvey saying, "No, no, why are you here?" And the look that hit her face that she knew,
she was going to die.
And I was like, I remember when I heard that, I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "That you're crushing my heart."
And Aaron Eckhart's screaming gets you too.
Oh my god!
Good shit, man.
Very underrated performance by Aaron Eckhart. I think Heath Ledger gets all the smoke. But Aaron Eckhart is the protagonist in this movie, and some people have made the argument that he becomes the Dark Knight. You know, and now the Dark Knight is a term that's reserved for Batman, but within the parameters of this story, his transformation from the shining light prosecutor to this murderous vigilante who is killing bad people. He's not like the Joker, just, you know, saying, "Hey, if you don't kill this person, I'm going to blow up a hospital." You know, that kind of thing. He's giving these people, I don't know if you would call it justice, but he becomes...
He's giving them chaos.
He's, you know, he just becomes a murderer.
I do just...
And does what the system refuses to accomplish.
Just
I like that. I mean, I like that a lot.
I do like this scene where, you know, after they finally put the Joker in jail, and then, you know, we talked about the interrogation and stuff, but how the Joker escapes from the jail. That was one of the creepiest, where he uses that guy with the phone, and he uses this guy as a bomb. That was just insane. When I saw that, and this guy, and they rip open his shirt, and he has my stomach hurts and all this stuff, and you see that cell phone inside him, and then and it just, and how he that's a great scene. And then him, you know, the famous scene of him with his head out of the cop car window, and he's like waving his hair,
and nothing but music.
What got me was when he got Lau. Because at that point, I had forgotten about Lau.
Yeah, me too.
I was so wrapped up in what was happening that you forget about Lau. But he wants Lau because Lau knows where the money is. There's a purpose to getting Lau. It's not just because he's a rat, because he is, and you'll kill him on that principle alone. But it's also that Lau knows where all the money is.
And it's how casual he finds them.
Yeah, and he just shakes those keys and he's like, "Hello there." You know? And Lau is just like, holy shit. It must be like the devil, like himself, you know, coming for you, you know, and you're like, holy shit. You know, and then Ryan's right, you know, him sticking his head out the window. You know, and just waving it, and it's just the whole city has the whole city is just turned into pandemonium.
He's enjoying it.
And he's enjoying it. There is a scene in the interrogation, because I used it in acting class a lot. And I said, look, I'm copping out, but I don't care. It's when Heath Ledger, I said, there's a moment where an actor will get lost in the character. And you will not recognize any semblance of that actor ever. Sometimes that will happen when Heath Ledger says to Batman, he goes, "If you're going to save both of them," and he goes, "You know, I really thought that, you know, what's his name was Batman. The way you threw yourself to go," and when Christian Bale knew, and he picked him up and threw him on the table and went to block the door. When Heath Ledger's on the table going, "Look at you go!" There was no Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
That was pure whoever. I was like, because when I saw that, I went, "Oh shit!"
Mm-hmm.
Because he had him, and you knew he had him. And
Tapping the source.
That scene when he's beating him, goes, "There's nothing your strength can do.
Mm-hmm.
I got you, and there's nothing." But there was no Heath Ledger. Because there's another acting teacher I know going, "Yeah, we're watching it, we're going, studying it as performers. We're going, he ain't there. There's a different persona at that moment."
In surfing, that's called tapping the source.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, he's just tapping into that source from up above. If this is a year 2 movie, it's way better than, and as much as I like it, that recent movie, which is a year 2 movie. But this is just a level, several, maybe 2 levels above that.
Oh yeah,
This is fantastic. Now at this point, Harvey sort of snaps and becomes Two-Face.
Yeah.
One, because he's in agonizing pain, which he refuses for any sort of medication. But 2, I think he hates everybody now.
Yeah.
He hates all these people who just keep compromising and trying to. And it's funny, he hates all the people for staying within the rules. Is that what you think it is?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't
know. I mean, I don't know.
Why does he hate Gordon? Why does he hate Batman?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe because I thought he kind of blamed them for what happened to him. That's how I took it.
I always thought his hatred for Batman was because he couldn't save Rachel.
Yeah, he resented him for that. Yeah.
I think he started to resent Batman before Rachel.
Yeah.
Like when you thought Gordon was dead and he was going after the one guy, and Batman stepped in and stopped him. You don't want to become like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he resented that.
Okay. I think he was getting ready to go. Because I think the reason why he got angry was that because this guy will do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And we have rules.
Yeah, and you won't.
We're stopping. Yeah. And why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that could be the reason why he goes over.
And he's not wrong.
That's why he sticks to his thing of fate. It's just chance.
Yeah. And I like
when,
I like those scenes, how he disposes of all those despicable people. Like the one cop at the bar, the corrupt cop, he just walks up to him and just bam. And then
he drinks and it comes out of his mouth.
He spares Ramirez, but he punches her in the face.
Yeah.
And then when with the scene with Maroney, he's like, oh, it's your lucky day. He's like, not your driver, and bam, and shoots the driver. And then, I mean, is Maroney dead? That's the last time we see him.
You would assume.
Yeah.
You would assume, yeah. But I love that because
I like the look on Maroney's face too when he sees Two-Face sitting there and he's got and the coin flip. He's genuinely terrified. When he's got the coin flip, Yeah.
I mean, when he has the kid terrified.
Yeah.
At the very, very end, and Batman leaps, to stop the boy. The question is, Batman was a second late. Would he have really pulled the trigger on the kid?
Yeah, he would have.
I think so.
That's how scary it was.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of my favorite lines in the movies is when the ferries were getting ready to be exploded.
Yeah.
But when he turned around and said, tell your son he's going to be all right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tell him he's going to be fine. I was like, oh, you motherfucker.
Yeah, lied to him.
Lied to him.
Like I lied.
Yeah. Like you did to me. Yeah. And that that ferry scene, we're talking about the people of Gotham and stuff, the civilians of Gotham. That was, I think, the ultimate test of, what they were going to do. I mean, and ultimately it was the prisoners.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tiny
Yep.
Lister, yeah, man, who made the decision to throw the detonator out the window.
Give it to me, and I'll do what you should have done a long time ago.
Yeah,
10 minutes.
Ah!
And I like that the guys that they pray,
Yeah.
they throw it out the window, and then they all just get down and pray, and
Yeah.
they're actually better than the people on the other boat who are like,
Yeah, because there's that one jerk who's just like he's ready to like flip the switch right there.
Yeah.
They made their choice to rob and steal, you know. We're gonna flip it right now, and then he can't do it either. And the look on that one guy's face when he puts it back in there is like, "You dumb son of a bitch! You wasted all our time with this bullshit, making us vote and all this shit. You don't even flip the fucking switch." But that may be one of the few occasions where the Joker fails.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that is. Yeah,
that's about it.
That's what Batman tells him that he failed. You know.
Yeah, he wants
the true spirit came out.
Yeah, he said you want to believe that everyone's as ugly, that deep down everyone's as ugly as you are, but not everyone is. But he manages to flip quite a few. That may be the only instance. You know, at that point, we're about 2 hours and 15 minutes into the movie, and he's batting 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, he's been batting 1,000 and getting everybody to do exactly what he wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then with that, there came the answer that he gave him. He goes, "You think I was going to base it on a fist fight with you?"
Yeah.
Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so did he really? Could that have been just a distraction to get Batman away? So,
well, it would have been one thing, and of course he would have had some mass, you know, casualties going on the explosion. But then he also had Harvey Dent, where again he succeeded.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the final victory for the Joker because he succeeds in turning Dent into a murderer.
Mm-hmm.
He succeeds in getting Gordon to cover the whole thing up.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he succeeds in turning Batman into a pariah. Being hunted by the police.
Yeah, because when the boats and all that stuff, when that didn't explode, I think Joker might have been a little disappointed, but he didn't really care.
That wasn't his.
Because what I think what it was, because if you think about it, it kind of fits into his motif too, because you can't really predict what's going to happen with him. So he couldn't really predict what would happen with the prisoners. You know what I mean? And that fit well. And then, like, you know, we brought up, you know, it's sad that, you know, we couldn't get Heath back again. But when he's saying, you know, I think we're doomed to fight it out for eternity or whatever that line was, you know what I mean? He was like, okay, I may have lost this, but we'll meet again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I like that end where Batman throws him off the roof and he's laughing as he's falling.
Yep.
He's laughing. He's just like,
he's having fun.
He don't care. Even as he's falling to his death.
He's dying.
Yeah. He's laughing. And then Batman can't do it. He has to save him and string him up by his leg.
And I think
you just can't let me go.
I think that's what it is. He's laughing not just because of what happened. He's having fun, but he's also laughing that Batman can't let him go. He predicted this.
That's what he tells him. He goes, "You're truly incorruptible."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which is what he's been. You know, I think that might be a bigger project for him than Dent.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, but I mean, ultimately,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say. Now, here's the question: if Ledger had lived, do you think the Joker would have been the main focus of Dark Knight Rises, or would they still have used Bane?
I think it would have been Bane.
I think they still would have gone with Bane because of his popularity in the comics and because of how pissed off Bane fans were with how he was portrayed in Batman and Robin. Because Bane is not just this dumbass musclehead. He's very well educated. And I think this was a redemption for his character. And, you know, as much as we're praising Ledger in this, it didn't need him in part 3. You know what I mean? Okay. He could have shown up. Let's just say, you know, this stuff kept, you know, going and going, and Dark Knight Rises wasn't as, air quotes, disappointing as the suits thought it was. Yeah. If we gotten a 4th one, maybe we could have gotten Ledger back. But I was always a Bane fan because when I started my Batman reading, it was when Bane broke the bat. He broke Batman. Nightfall. He broke Batman's back, and Bane was everywhere in the comics because no one had ever defeated Batman.
Yeah, it seems to me that one scene in Dark Knight Rises that Scarecrow is in, that little kangaroo court scene, that's kind of where the Joker would have been, or something like that.
I think the Joker probably would have been doing that.
Yeah.
Instead of Cillian Murphy. That might have been like the one, like, hey, look, he's there type of thing, and then everyone would have cheered.
But I don't know, because the Joker, I mean, they had kind of set it up that Joker was going to be the main antagonist again in the third one. Like, it would be a continuation kind of.
There was the possibility, but it was never cemented. I did do a little bit of research on this. It was a probability, but it was never cemented. And of course, he died before the movie was even released. Right. So they didn't really have a chance to cement anything like that.
Right.
Yeah.
I read a thing where Christopher Nolan had said there was a scene where the Joker was going to meet Bane. Oh. They were going through the jail. And there was almost like a counter, I don't want to say counter thrust in the insanity that Bane was doing. But the Joker eventually became the judge, and when Batman broke out, it's when he said he made his escape and went, "Thank you." When everybody was looking at the flaming Batman on the ice, and the Joker made his break.
I am a fan of The Dark Knight Rises.
Me too.
I think if you remove The Dark Knight, and you just look at it as a movie, it's one of the better ones.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is it's hard to follow up The Dark Knight.
Exactly.
It's like I've always attributed it to like Predator. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mike, you know how much I love Schwarzenegger's Predator.
Yeah.
How can you follow that up? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
How could, and they can't all be Aliens or Terminator 2.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't always follow it up. And that just had so many big shoes to fill, not just with Ledger's performance, but just with everything.
So, but when you think about it, and you use that 90% Sturgeon's law, by the time you get to a third movie, can we think of a trilogy where Indiana Jones, Star Wars,
before the fourth one came out,
then you've got Ewoks, but okay, Indiana
Murder
Jones,
bears. They're murder bears. They eat people.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings, but that was
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the
Rings. But I mean, if you think, fucking A+ sequels wait till you get to the third movie. And then you really start separating, the fucking, the amateurs,
One of the things of the revamp of the X-Men movies is in the third movie when the kids come out of they come out of the Return of the Jedi film, and they said, well, it's so hard to do a third movie in a sequel. And it was the third movie they were doing.
Yeah.
I think, wasn't this the first comic book movie to win an Oscar?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Heath Ledger winning. There were people who genuinely argued, and I'm on their side on this, not because I just like comic book movies.
Yeah.
They felt this should have been nominated for Best Film.
Oh, I agree.
Because of the way it was presented. And as one guy said, you can't say it's because it's a comic book.
No.
You can't. It still kept you on the edge of your seat.
Yep.
It still did everything. And that's one of the reasons why the Academy expanded the film choices from 5 to 10 now.
Oh, okay.
But that was one of the reasons, because they were saying that, well, it's a comic book film. And they said, no, it's a drama. Just using comic book characters to present it.
That's the major problem that I've always had with the Academy is whether it's horror, comedy, action, or comic book movies, they will never get nominated. I mean, I don't know how it is now because I haven't given a shit in 20 years. You know what I mean? But that group never ever got even considered, no matter how good it was.
Yeah, and that's what pissed me off about when Return of the King won. They called it a drama. It's a fantasy film, but they don't acknowledge fantasy as a legit genre. We talked about that before. It swept the Oscars. Acknowledge what it is. It's a fantasy film. It's not a drama with fantasy characters.
No.
It's a fantasy film.
It's the same thing when Peter Jackson won. They said he probably won for the last movie but he got it for all three.
Yeah.
I said the same thing. Well, then acknowledge it. If that's the case.
But we were talking about this last night, and here's the problem. I mean, this may, be my usual unpopular opinion that I always level. Here's the thing. We've had these conversations a lot about genre bias and things like that, and to some extent I agree, but then I started to really think about it. The problem with the genre bias is that, people will say, well, genre bias, this movie gets ignored, this movie, it should be. I think factually those things are correct. But within a lot of genres like horror, those movies get drowned out by a lot of bad fucking movies.
Yeah,
true. I get that.
Because what ends up happening, the way to get through the genre bias, and we were talking about this yesterday, is that on the whole, these genres need to consistently start turning out good or better product, and they don't do it. They don't do it. You get one person who will have a movie like Hereditary or, whatever movie you think is like, 5-star or 7-star, whatever. And then they'll go right back to here we go. And here it comes this year,
Scream 5.
Yeah, the next Scream 5 or the next Halloween movies.
Yeah.
And so that's the reason. I mean, that usually doesn't happen with drama.
True.
Right. So that's why drama consistently, tends to win the day because they're consistently doing their best for the most part. Trying to put out good product. But you've got fans, and fans can like whatever they want, who will just probably buy a ticket to see damn near just about anything within horror or maybe sci-fi. Look what's happening now with comic book movies. I think the quality has gone down, plummeted in the last 5 years.
Right.
And so, the fans are kind of their own worst enemy because they consistently shoot themselves in the foot by just going for anything.
That's what I said. Yeah, that's what I was saying.
You can't have it both ways.
In 1990, when Julia Roberts was nominated for Best Actress in Pretty Woman,
I never saw that.
She was nominated for, and she did a good job in the movie. Yeah. But Steven Spielberg turned around and said she's not going to win, and they said it's a comedy. And that was one of the things that they talked about. Instead of Best Animated Feature was Best Comedic Performance. But somebody goes, comedy is too subjective.
Yeah.
People. And if you really think about it, I used to have kids almost walk out of an acting class when I was teaching at ACCC when I said, I don't find Will Ferrell funny on film.
Neither do I. Oh.
I never did. Saturday Night Live, yes. I liked him a lot more when he was serious. But I never found him that funny in a movie. And they're like, what? And I said, but that's the reason why. Drama is, like you were saying, they bring the best and you can set up that drama. Comedy is subjective.
Yep.
Julia Roberts' character, technically, as Gary Marshall put it, I had to find the most virginal prostitute in Hollywood. Because in Pretty Woman, that's what she was. She was a prostitute.
Well, you
gotta have a good heart.
You hit the nail on the head. What an Adam Sandler. What makes an Adam Sandler movie, air quotes, funny? It's a lot of kiddie jokes, toilet humor. Or you can go with like the early Kevin Smith stuff, which was funny, but that was all dialogue driven. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
And, so it's all suggestive. Some people like some people like how Randall and Dante are talking about, the construction workers, and if their families, get compensation for dying on the Death Star. Some people find that funny, or some people like Adam Sandler and fart jokes. It's all subjective.
When Robert Downey Jr. died, when Robert Downey Jr. died in Avengers Endgame, there was a petition saying he should have been nominated for supporting actor, but for the whole 10 years of Tony Stark. And I went, no. 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 Because I don't want to hear that. See, I'm also against the same thing when they also say, oh, just give them the award. They've been nominated a lot.
Yeah.
Like I remember they said that about
DiCaprio. That's what happened to DiCaprio.
Yeah,
And I
or
turned around, I went, Al
Scorsese.
Pacino. I said Al Pacino was nominated 8 times. Paul Newman won the Irving Thalberg Award first, and then came back and won the Academy. I'm
Didn't
telling
he
you,
win for The Color of Money?
yeah, for the color of money.
Best actor. Scorsese.
But that's the point. I went, no, it's not a popularity contest.
Right. The things that we've talked about, especially we just did the guilty pleasures thing.
Mm-hmm.
People like whatever they want to like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But liking something doesn't make it good. And we talked, I think there has to be some agreement, because if we can't define what the problem is, if there can't be understanding of what the problem is, then you can't create a solution.
You saw my top three lists. My top 3 list movies are all horribly made. They're garbage. They're, but you know what? I know Howard the Duck is a piece of crap movie. I can recognize that.
What I'm saying is that if these genres want to start to receive more recognition, then they have to start crafting better stories. You can make a funny movie that's a good story. Right. You can make a horror movie that's a great story. I've done 120 of them.
Yeah.
Okay. I've talked about 120. I'd say out of 120 movies, I've covered 110 movies with decent or to excellent stories, performances, direction, these different things.
Yeah. I think that with the fantasy genre, though, I mean, since Lord of the Rings, there haven't really been that much.
What have you really had?
Fantasy movies.
Well, they've gone to the streaming services.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
you had the.
I'm sorry, go
What's
ahead.
that?
I interrupt you, Michael. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we've had Game of Thrones.
Yeah, but that's a TV show. I'm talking
right,
about
but
movies.
It's based on. You could have done that in a sort of, maybe not. It's too thick for a Lord of the Rings kind of thing, because it's 5 books or something like that.
Right.
But,
yeah.
But if you look at
comic book movies, have taken over everything.
Yeah. But when you look at Lord of the Rings, and don't get me wrong, I loved the adaptations. People go, well, why can't we do another fantasy movie? Because there's no more Lord of the Rings. We're not going to be able to do something that good.
Well,
or worse, some people will go, oh, we can't do that. Forget it. And walk away.
Yeah, but I mean, it depends on, I think, the source material you choose to do. And if the director, like Peter Jackson, is a fan of the material and understands it, and you can have something good. Like my favorite fantasy series is The Chronicles of Prydain by Lloyd Alexander. Fantastic books. There's 5 of them. Disney made one attempt, a movie called The Black Cauldron, which I don't want to see because I don't want to ruin my enjoyment of the books. I heard it's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, I have it. It's pretty good. It's nowhere near the books, but it's a good watch. Yeah,
but like Lloyd Alexander himself, he said he saw the movie. He was like, it was good. It wasn't anything like the books, but it wasn't terrible. But I mean, there's a lot. That series is fantastic, and it would work well as 5 movies if the director was the right person for it, or a fan, or somebody who understood it, like Peter Jackson with the Lord of the Rings movies. They worked because he was a fan of the material, and he had to tweak stuff, obviously, because it was a movie, but he understood it. He got it, and it resonated with the fan. Any fantasy, I mean, if you take, you could take the Earthsea, any of these classic fantasy things. If you really give a shit about it, like Mike was saying, you really give a shit about it, it's going to be good. I mean,
you'll get touch and go kind of things here and there. We've just gotten what was it, The Handmaid's Tale?
Yeah.
That's hit the streaming services. I heard they retconned it.
But again, that's a TV show.
Right, but that's where these things are going now.
Yeah.
That's the format in today's era.
How many times can you remake Dune?
Right. And then Villeneuve did a fucking phenomenal job. It's good.
And that's good.
But we just did, Amazon has taken the Wheel of Time. Robert Jordan.
I heard that was terrible.
Yeah, I heard it was bad too. They retconned
like the fans were like,
they made it intersectional. Yeah, they made it intersectional. They went intersectional because that's what happens a lot now. But I mean, it's also like, what Bill was saying that time when we were talking about classic rock. John, if you remember that conversation, that people only make the things that are extraordinarily familiar. It's hard to get people take a chance on original content. That's why they're making That's why they're making a Game of Thrones prequel that no one's asked for.
Or this
Right.
Lord
Because
of the
they're
Rings show that no one's asked for.
Right, but they've got an established fan base.
Right.
So the established fan base is going to bring them money, and then they can also market it. And I think largely both of these things, the Lord of the Rings and the House of the Dragon, they're being marketed to normies. They're not being marketed to the fans.
No, they're not.
Oh, I saw Lord of the Rings, so I'll watch this. People who haven't read the fucking books.
No, Tolkien fans. I think Tolkien fans. A lot of Tolkien fans aren't going to watch that Lord of the Rings show.
They aren't making things for the fans anymore.
No,
I saw. I'm going to make a video tomorrow where we were talking about this in the thread where yesterday where I saw this tweet from Jesse Ventura, and Jesse Ventura was given love to these. It's been 35 years for Predator. I can't believe people still love it. Thanks to all the fans, for their love and support over the years to help make this, a success. Nobody's doing that. That's a dying art.
Right.
Yeah.
Making things for the fans, making things for, or thanking the fans. I think Tom Cruise did it in the new Top Gun movie.
Right.
I think Bill said that Bruce Campbell always thanks the fans.
Yep.
Zack Snyder thanks the fans. That's like 4 people. Now it's sit down, shut up, be thankful for what we give you, and if you don't like it, you're toxic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, here we are.
We certainly
And
went
that's
off
a
on
shame.
tangent on this.
Yeah.
I'm okay, no big deal to me. But I mean, so there's a lot that needs a lot of debris, a lot of detritus. We have to get production companies that are willing to take risks on original content, instead of retreading and rebooting and soft rebooting.
This brings us back to what we're talking about now. These umpteen Batman movies that are out there. I mean, honestly, I'm getting Batman fatigue because there's so many Batman movies that are almost piggybacking off each other.
Yep.
We've got a Joker musical coming.
Yeah.
How
many Batman movies do we really need? I mean, that's the thing. Why do we keep having more Batman movies? Like, give it a rest. Wait 10 years.
Here's the thing. Here's what you could do with the Batman movie, because this is what they keep doing. They keep remaking year 1, year 2.
I know. It's like,
give us an older Batman, like what they were going to do with Affleck's The Batman. Start bringing in new characters, new villains. Yeah. Stop doing, the Joker again.
Yeah.
The Penguin again. Or who was it? And then the last one, the
Riddler.
The Riddler again. If you're going to do that, then do it differently. But they keep soft reboot, another year or 2. How many times have we seen Uncle Ben get killed by another reboot of Spider-Man? Aunt May, Mary Jane.
I really don't,
over and over again.
I don't get why these movie studios think like, let's see, when was the last Batman? Justice League came out, a couple of years ago. Now let's do Batman again. It's like
they're
not
making
even
it
10
for
years
fans.
After.
Right.
I mean,
they're not making it for fans.
I know.
They're making it for the buck.
Yeah, they're making it for the buck and for the guy who just wants to take his kids somewhere for the weekend to get out. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take him to see this. I'm not really thinking about it. And, we'll go out for chicken fingers afterwards, and that'll be the weekend. And that's who they're marketing it to. But I think they're marketing it to the lifelong fans that have their shit boxed and boarded, bagged and boarded and, stacked and alphabetized.
But see, this Batman trilogy, I think, was necessary at the time, because what do we have before that? Batman and Robin. Right. That was 97. And that had pretty much driven the whole franchise into the ground. So they needed a reboot. Okay, we're fine with that. This comes out 2000. When was Dark Knight Rises? 10, 11?
6, 12. Oh, 11?
2012?
11
yeah, 2012. And then we get Batman versus Superman, like right on top of that almost.
We got Man of Steel.
Right.
Yeah. And then it's like, we just saw Batman. Like, why can't we wait another 10 years and then get another Batman movie. There's so I'm tired of Batman movies. It's really
here's the thing.
Fatigue, like you said.
Don't play.
It's fatigue, but you know something? What adds to fatigue is when they make a subpar product.
Right. Yeah.
If you consistently kick out a quality product, I'll open my wallet.
Yeah.
I'll shut up. I'll open my wallet. Okay, I'm going to see a good fucking movie.
Example, James Bond flicks.
Yeah, by and large, most of the Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
I'll see the Daniel. Okay, no problem. You got one coming every 3 or 4 years or something like that. No problem.
Those are like consistent. Those are spaced out evenly. It's like you know what I mean.
That's the point. That's why they did it. We all know who Bond is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, you know how many times they reinvented him each time they come up with a new Bond, but we don't know who he is.
Yeah. I mean, we don't need a Bond movie every year or 2 or 3. Right. I mean, they space
Get ready
out.
because what's his name in Amazon? He bought it. He bought MGM.
Bezos.
Bezos.
Gosh.
And
Lex
it's rumored
Luthor?
that now he owns Lords of the Rings. Fewer companies are owning all these franchises. He now owns Lord of the Rings. He now owns James Bond.
Wow.
Yeah, Disney owns Marvel. Disney owns Star Wars. So there's only like 3 to 5 companies that are owning all these mega properties.
Yeah.
Warner Brothers owns DC.
Hey, I remember when my nieces and nephews, Mike, I know you knew some of them, like Little Bill and stuff.
Sure.
They turned around when they were kids. They came out with these Disney sing-along flicks.
Yep.
That accompanied the latest movie. They have a song and everything. And you would watch these things, and the adults were watching them more than the kids because they had older songs. There was fun to it. The minute they started marketing it to come out every 2 weeks, I'm like, they're boring. The whole point of doing it is gone. They think all we got to do is just hit them and keep coming with them. And
honestly, I think this Batman thing is going to hit a wall, or this whole comic book thing is going to hit a wall at some point.
Yeah.
Where people are just sick of it, and it's going to fade out for 10 years or so until I mean, like
Feige has plans to go. He has stated he has plans to go to 2032.
Who said this?
Kevin Feige, the guy who runs Marvel. So Marvel's got another 10 years. And you saw that list that I put in the texting group. They've got something coming like every 8 weeks.
Yeah. Right.
If it's not a movie, then it's a series.
And it's
with Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's what you said,
Mike.
Well,
some of those Star Wars things are some of those Star Wars titles are actually upcoming video games, but yeah.
Okay.
Well, some of the things when you turn around and said, Mike, how many times can Thor go out and find himself?
We're about to find out.
You know, but that's the point. I'm a huge Thor fan.
Yeah.
Always have been as a comic book reading as a kid. Sure. I used to like it when he was Don Blake and would bang that Kane and everything else. And I thought Chris Hemsworth was doing a great job. And I'm going, what? I'm seeing the previews and I'm going, excuse me?
I guess like my point with this whole Batman stuff is like this trilogy, the Nolan trilogy, for all intents and purposes, was perfect.
It's the high point.
And they didn't need to make, as far as I'm concerned, that should have been it for Batman. They could have focused on another DC superhero, like let's say Superman, for example. Do a trilogy on him. Give Batman a break. Batman doesn't need to be in it.
There's an argument. Oh, hold on. There is the argument that the Snyderverse is the Superman trilogy.
Okay.
You've got the Man of Steel.
Yeah.
You've got, where he sort of goes the Nolan route where he becomes the brunt of everyone's accusations.
Right. Yeah. No, I understand that. But
and then the Snyderverse where they resurrect him.
But
the Snyder cut.
I think they could have. No,
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
If it had just been Superman,
right?
You know what I mean? Like it's like we got a perfect Batman trilogy,
right?
We didn't need Batman showing up in these other we already got it, and now we have the Batman because that's an exciting original title. I mean, it's just and that's the thing. Like you're right, Mike. When I was thinking about it, it's not a terrible movie. I mean, I could see there was some Nolan influence in it, definitely.
Oh yeah.
But I almost wish Nolan had kept it going past a trilogy. I understand
He
why
doesn't
he
want to
didn't.
be. Yeah, he
And-
doesn't want to be.
And Heath Ledger's death really knocked him for a loop.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to touch the Joker or even mention the Joker in Dark Knight Rises and all this kind of stuff. But it just, that trilogy, this movie's perfect. And it's like, I mean, that's why I always get like another Batman movie, because this one is it for me. Dark Knight is it. I mean, I can't, like, oh yeah, okay, if it's maybe it looks interesting, like the Batman wasn't terrible, but did it need to be made? No.
My brother-in-law, and I love him to death. I don't know if he watches this or not, but my one brother-in-law told me, you gotta go see the Batman movie. It'll change your life. And I looked at him and I went, dude, I'm the actor. I'm the,
You seem like a nice guy.
I've never met a movie that changed my life.
Yeah.
And I
Is that right?
Don't get
Okay.
me wrong, but no,
Probably not.
probably not.
Every once in a while it happens. I wouldn't say with this one necessarily.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So I think that's as good a point as any to bring this to a close.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
What?
We ran
man,
it for
why
like
stop
20
now?
minutes.
Here's the thing, man. We got a whole summer of A-list crime dramas coming up.
Yeah, man.
So, we're going to get away from demons and ghouls and goblins and manitous and wendigos and vampires. And we might touch one occasionally, but I don't think that there's going to be too many. And
Werewolf
these
Close
are-
Night Job is a great movie.
see, here's the thing. Knock it off. Here's the thing.
He shows up late, and then he has to say something like that,
and,
right?
Yeah, here we go. Escalation. Here we go. So here's the thing. Crime dramas are a completely different animal from horror movies.
Yes,
And
they
so
are.
you have well-written stories, guaranteed, or I probably wouldn't have it on the show.
Right.
And so there's going to be a lot to talk about. I'm looking forward to getting into these when we start to get into Payback, when we start to get into Seven, when we start to get into Red Dragon, when we start to get into all these different movies. Hold on, I'll go down some of the lists. We've got Payback coming up, Red Dragon. We got Point Break.
Wow.
The
We got
original one?
we
gorgeous.
got the King of New York. We got Seven. We got No Country for Old Men. We got Sin City.
Yes.
We got the Boondock Saints.
There you go.
And we got Joker, and that's only like one per week. That's not even talking about the second show that we do for the week. So we're in a good summer. It's going to be a good summer.
Wow.
It'll be a
Sorry,
good time.
folks. No Scarface.
No Scarface. Not in this.
That's okay.
I'm just sad there's no Die Hard. No.
Yeah, that's not. That's not
I'm
gonna
actually
happen.
surprised we're not
That was
doing
just
Heat.
on this weekend.
No, it's too on the nose.
Yeah, no.
Heat is too on the nose. So I don't want to go there.
Okay.
The
Okay. It's crime. I don't.
Yes, it is. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about Heat.
Instead, we go to the city where they have Ben Affleck and Hawkeye. We could have superheroes who become bad guys.
Well, yeah, we're not talking about that Daredevil movie with Affleck either. Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ.
What a piece of shit. All right. So
I tried, man. I tried.
that brings me to the conclusion. My thanks to the Ryan Daly. Slightly disgruntled as he leaves, but he'll be back nevertheless. We've got my thanks to Eric for Hey Internet Eric here, and the late John Alvarez, who makes himself sound dead. That's what, when I saw that, I'm like, are you dead? I mean,
It's
are you
never
doing
boring on this show.
You're
I'll give you
doing
that.
the show from the beyond. I mean, what's happening
he's
here? The late
channeling.
John P. Alvarez. Yeah, it is the fucking Twilight Zone. So, all right. So we will be back next week with special shows on Tuesday. Tuesday, we have a stream, The Late Show. Rod will be back as we delve a little further into and I think Bill maybe, as we delve a little further into the Monsterverse with Godzilla, King of the Monsters. We're having a lot of fun with that. And if anybody else would like to join, you're more than welcome to. They're streaming right now on HBO, so if you want to catch them and jump in, feel free.
Oh, cool.
On Wednesday, there will be no show because Ryan and I are going to see The Thing for its 40th anniversary on the big screen. And I've never seen The Thing on the big screen.
Me neither.
So I'm looking forward to that a lot.
Very jealous.
It is great.
I bet that it's remastered and the sounds are just going to be fucking right in your face and, all those big visuals. And I can't wait for that. And then on Thursday,
fuck you too.
Yeah, exactly. That sums up this show. Yeah, all right. So
no, I think
should have been called.
Fuck you too, buddy.
I think his line of
Werewolf in New Jersey.
I'm sorry, I saw that on a big screen. I was sitting next to Paul. We were like, yeah.
Well,
I wonder if they sell shirts that have that on it.
If we're describing this show
if
we're describing this show and it's Kurt Russell and The Thing, it's you got to be fucking kidding me.
Yeah,
that's this show.
So we will be back again on Thursday, and I'm going to have a returning guest. I'm going to have Sydney. I do love Sydney. She's so sweet. From Cinema Cities, and we're going to cover the crime movie for that particular week. One of my all-time favorites. It's a modern classic called Hell or High Water. With Chris Pine and fucking Ben Foster and Jeff Bridges, and it is a fucking motherfucker of a crime drama.
Yes,
and it's pretty close to a perfect movie. And Sydney is the perfect person to talk about that. And when I told her that was the one I wanted her for, she just jumped right the fuck on it. So
if it's Ben Foster, I got to check it out. And I love him.
It's fucking great. All right, that will wrap it up for the week. My thanks to everybody here. I'll see you again late night on Tuesday to cover Godzilla. And until then, everybody, take it easy.
Cheers.